Welcome to the locker room. I'm Nancy, and it is Monday, October 6th, and it is 3:47 in the afternoon. I know I set my time for 4 o'clock, but I got in a little bit early. I had to take CJ to the eye doctor after school. And then he wanted to cook hamburgers. My page just went out. Hold on. See if I can get it to come back up. I don't know. I've been having trouble with this one page all day long. Let's see if I can get it to come up here. See if I can get it to play on for us. All right. Says, who were the 4 victims killed in the yogurt shop murders? In 1991, Amy Ayers, Elizabeth Thomas, Jennifer Harbison, and Sarah Harbison were unalived in a yogurt shop in North Austin. Let's see if this will play. I want it to play for me, please. It says it's not working. Refresh. Okay, let's see if it'll play now. There, we're getting a little bit further. Oh, it's saying it's not. I don't understand. Okay, we may have to skip this first one because it's just acting so squirrely. I don't understand why it's not. For some reason, if I get more than 10 windows open on my computer, it just don't want to act right anymore. All right. I'm going to skip the first one because it's just not going to work. We'll just go to the second one. Okay. It says police say they have solved Austin's yogurt shop red rums after 34 years. New DNA evidence links a known serial killer to the crime that happened in December 1991. Okay, here's September 29th audio. Let's listen.
It's the Texas Standard. I'm David Brown. In December 1991, 4 teenage girls were found murdered in North Austin. The incident became known as the Yogurt Shop murders, and those murders have remained unsolved for 34 years. Until now. Based on new DNA evidence, the Austin Police Department is prepared to say this case is now closed. And here to tell us more, Tony Plohetsky, who broke this story for the Austin American Statesman and KView. Tony, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Tell us about this new evidence that has emerged, and is there indeed someone who has been accused of having committed these murders?
Now, currently, we're listening to this blue line across the top of here. We'll go down to this afterwards because that's just a photograph.
This is really an extraordinary development that has played out really over the past 4 months. Of course, the investigation has spanned 34 years, but just beginning in June, there were new efforts that really ramped up this investigation. And ultimately now authorities say that an American serial killer by the name of Robert Eugene Brashers, they believe is responsible. And they got to him through a series of ballistic evidence, newly available DNA evidence, as well as on the ground police work, obtaining police reports from frankly all over the country to build this case against Brashers. And during the day on Monday, they plan to really explain all of this to the public and how they arrived at this conclusion that he is, in fact, responsible for the murders of those 4 girls.
Who was Robert Eugene Brashers?
What's so striking about this is that his name was never part of the investigation. He never lived in Austin. He never worked in Austin. He had no known ties to Austin. But authorities have been able to trace him traveling from Georgia westward through the state of Texas, where he was ultimately apprehended 2 days after the yogurt shop murders in West Texas, near Las Cruces, Mexico. And authorities say at that time he had a 380 that was the same make and model used to kill at least one of the yogurt shop victims. But most strikingly, as they have progressed rapidly in this investigation over the past 4 months, one of the most compelling pieces of information, they say, is that DNA evidence under the fingernails of the youngest victim of the yogurt shop murders, 13-year-old Amy Ayers, they have been able, they say, to link that to this serial killer, to Brashers, and that is the ultimate, to them, piece of evidence tying him to the crime.
Where is Brashers? Could you say more about what happened to him after the murders and in the years afterwards?
What's so striking about Brashers is that he died of suicide in the late 1990s. However, he was not linked at the time of his death to any murders. Violent crime, yes. Wow. But in 2017 and 18, through genetic genealogy, this is, of course, a new type of DNA investigation that has now become widely available and widely used to law enforcement, authorities were able to actually go back in time and link him to the murder of a woman and her daughter in Missouri, as well as the murder of a woman in South Carolina. And so that is how he was in a South Carolina DNA database that authorities were ultimately able to link a DNA sample from the crime scene here in Austin to him through that database. Again, all of that unfolding just in the past few months.
This is incredible detective work. I understand you had a chance to speak with the families of the victims. What did they have to say?
Bob Ayers, who is the father of the youngest victim, gave such a striking and powerful comment. He said that he always knew, and that their family always knew, that their daughter would be able to help finally solve this murder. And so for her to have had DNA under her fingernails that authorities say can be linked to Brashers is so striking and so powerful to them. He told me that he has never been so proud of his daughter in his life. And what authorities told him is that it clearly showed how much his daughter fought this killer in the final moments of her own life.
Tony Plohetsky is an investigative reporter at the Austin American-Statesman. He's been doing some outstanding work covering this story. We're going to have a link to it, texasstandard.org. Tony, thanks again for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So that's a little bit about how they found. I'm wondering, when somebody passes away, if I've scratched somebody, do they take that out from under my skin, under my nails, and they store it forever or until my case is solved? If I'm involved in something, that's amazing. Hello, how are you? It's nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. Okay, so the next one is from MSN, and the links are in the description. You've been obsessed with this case, Lacey? Thank you. Thank you. The first page I was going to show, something happened in my link and it wouldn't stay. I couldn't show the first page. But this says Austin Yogurt Shop Red Rum solved more than 3 decades after 4 teenage girls were unalived. This is the guy. It's, oh, H. Davis. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. It says more than 3 decades after 4 teenage girls were red rummed in Austin, Texas yogurt shop. I wonder if that was Brahms. I don't know. In 1991, one original investigator from the case confirmed that a suspect has been identified. Retired Austin detective John Jones told 48-hour correspondent Aaron Moriarty that Robert Eugene Brashers, who is deceased, has been linked to the Red Rums per CBS News. Brashers was a serial killer and an artist who committed at least 3 known red rums in South Carolina and Missouri between 1990 and 1998. He passed away by suicide in January 1999 during a standoff with police where he used a pew-pew that's believed to be consistent with a casing that was found in a brain inside the yogurt shop. A drain, I'm sorry. I got my B and my D mixed up, okay? Honey Boo Boo banged up after a car accident in Denver. Mama June confirms. Jones also complained that the connection between Brashers and the case was made through DNA evidence, according to CBS News. Now, what has Honey Boo Boo got to do with that? The Red Rums took place on December 6, 1991, when Eliza Thomas, 17, Amy Ayers, 13, and sisters Jennifer Harbison, 17, and Sarah Harbison, 15, were found unalived in an I can't believe it's yogurt shop in Austin. Okay, well, I guess that tells me it wasn't a Brahms. Okay. The victims were gagged and tied up with their own clothing, as well as pew-pewed in the head. CBS News also reported that the person who killed the girls set the shop on fire, which compromised most of the evidence. Thomas and Jennifer were working at the yogurt shop with Sarah, and their friends Ayers met them while they were getting ready to close and head home. The Austin Police Department developed a task force dedicated to solving the case, with government agencies, including the FBI, being called in to assist. It wasn't until 1999 when 4 men, Robert Springsteen, Michael Scott, Maurice Pierce, and Forrest Welborn, were arrested and charged with the Red Rums per CBS News. The suspects were only teenagers when the crimes were committed. All 4 of them were initially questioned days after the Red Rums, though they were released due to lack of evidence. However, Springsteen and Scott confessed to the Red Rums in 1999 and later recanted after they claimed they were coerced into confessing per CBS News. The charges against Pierce and Welborn were dropped due to lack of evidence, while Springsteen and Scott ultimately went to trial and they were both convicted. However, their convictions were overturned on constitutional grounds, and DNA evidence was unable to link them to the crime. In light of the findings, they were released from prison in 2009 per WANE.com. Okay, so they confessed, they were put away, then they were found out to have not caused the problem. Not They didn't commit the act. So let's go to the next one. This is from Yahoo News. The links are all in my description. All right, here it comes. All right. In 1991, Austin yogurt shop Red Rum's new suspect identified after decades. And here's a bigger picture of him. He didn't look like he was very old. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton Cold Case Unit has identified a new suspect in the infamous 1991 Austin yogurt shop Red Rums that left 4 teenage girls unalive. The suspect, Robert Brashers, committed self-harm in 1999 and is now linked to the illings of Jennifer Harbison and Sarah Harbison, Eliza Thomas, and Amy Ayers at the I Can't Believe It yogurt shop, Paxton's office announced on Monday. The breakthrough aided advances in DNA testing comes after more than 3 decades of investigation into one of Austin's most notorious unsolved cases. The quadruple homicide shocked the Texas Capitol and prompted years of fruitless prosecutions. The bodies of the girls were found undressed, bound, and gagged inside the yogurt shop that had been set on fire. 3 of the 4 teens had been actually altered by the perpetrator. Brashers, who was connected to the Red Rums in several other states, emerged as the suspect through work by Paxton's Cold Case and Missing Persons Unit. The unit was collaborated with local law enforcement on the case since 2022. My team has worked tirelessly on this case for years, and this development is sorry, I glanced up and saw a spider on my screen. I wasn't looking over on this screen. Okay. My team has worked tirelessly on the case for years, and this development is a testament to their dedication and hard work, Paxton said. The relentless pursuit of justice for the victims and their loved ones will carry on, and we will not rest until the case is solved. Investigators plan to explore additional crimes Brashers may have committed during his time in Texas. The Attorney General established the Cold Case Unit in 2021 to assist law enforcement agencies with unsolved crimes. Texas currently has more than 20,000 unsolved homicide cases. The unit remains committed to helping agencies statewide find answers for victims and families. The city of Austin's additional details about the breakthrough in the cold case. And then you can look at Con. And then this Ed Gein is a story that has been going around the past couple of weeks. I saw it on Paranormal Files. He did a conspiracy theory about this guy, and I did a. No, this wasn't. I didn't do a live on him. I did one on the BTK guy that my grandfather worked with. Not to do the BTK. My thumbnail is good. Thank you. Thank you. There's a search for a missing 2-year-old girl in Beaver County. I don't know what state Beaver County's in. Okay. It just came up as a news article in my email. Okay, we're going to go back to MSN now. And I'm so sorry. Austin police explain how they identified a suspect in the 1991 yogurt shop Red Rum's cold case. Austin police on Monday outlined how a new, rapidly unfolding DNA and ballistics evidence trail led them to declare a unalived man as a likely perpetrator in the killing of 4 teenage girls in an Austin yogurt shop in 1991, a horrific crime that haunted the city for decades. And officials noted there was no known connection between the new suspect and the 2 men previously convicted in the killings, one of whom was briefly sent to DR. At one point, I had given up on God, but he never gave up on me, Sean Ayers, brother of one of the victims, Amy Ayers, said at a news conference. Austin police now say evidence leads to Robert Eugene Brashers, who passed away by self-infliction in 1999 during a standoff with law enforcement in recent years. I just got your email, H. Davis. In recent years, Brashers has been linked to several killings and R's in other states. The announcement that Brashers was the suspect came amid renewed attention on the case with the release of last month of the yogurt shop Red Rums on HBO documentary series. Sonora Thomas, sister of Eliza Thomas, said she thought she would die not knowing what happened and had to be okay with it. I now know what happened, and that does ease my suffering, she said. The crime shocked the city. The killings stunned Texas capital city and became known as one of the area's most notorious crimes. Amy Ayers, 13, Eliza Thomas, 17, and sisters Jennifer and Sarah Harbison, ages 17 and 15, were bound, gagged, and pew-pewed in the head at the I Can't Believe It's yogurt store where 2 of them worked. The building was set on fire. Investigators have said that around closing time, someone entered the store through the back door, attacked the girls, and set the fire. The bodies were found when firefighters were still battling the blaze. Austin lost its innocence the night those young girls became victims. Austin Mayor Kirk Watson said, DNA under Amy Ayers' fingernails provided key evidence. Austin police cold case detective Daniel Jackson and Amy's final moments on this earth were to solve this case for us, Jackson said. It's because of her fighting back. Austin police investigators and prosecutors had stumbled over the case for years as they waded through thousands of leads, several false confessions, and badly damaged evidence from the burned out crime scene. Suspects charged. In 1999, authorities arrested 4 men on the Red Rum charges: Maurice Pierce, Michael Scott, Robert Springsteen IV, and Forrest Welburn. Two of them, Springsteen and Scott, were teenagers at the time of the Red Rums. They initially confessed and implicated each other, but both men quickly recanted and said their statements were made under pressure by police. Both were tried and convicted. Springsteen was initially sent to DR, but his sentence was then reduced to life in prison. Their convictions were overturned and they were set for retrial a decade later. A judge ordered both men freed in 2009 when prosecutors said new DNA tests that weren't available in 1991 had revealed another male suspect. Brashers had no known connection to the men, authorities said. Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza said the investigation connected by the Austin Police Department remains ongoing as they continue to pursue further investigative steps. At this time, the overwhelming weight of the evidence points to the guilt of one man, Robert Eugene Brashers, Garza said in a statement. Likewise, the overwhelming weight of the evidence points to the innocence of four men, Maurice Price, Michael Scott, Robert Springsteen IV, and Forrest Welberg. Garza said that if the investigative conclusion of the Austin police are confirmed, the Travis County District Attorney's Office will take responsibility for its role in prosecuting these men, including sending one of them to DR and another to serve life in prison. If the findings of the Austin Police Department investigation are confirmed, Garza said he will apologize. Barbara Wilson, mother of Jennifer and Sarah Harbison, said all the family ever wanted was the truth. We never wanted anyone to go to jail or be charged with anything that they didn't do, Wilson said. Vengeance was never it. It was always the truth. Prosecutor says evidence points to one iller. Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza said his office continues to renew the evidence, but the overwhelming weight of the evidence points to the guilt of one man and to the innocence of four. If the conclusion of APD's investigation are confirmed, as it appears that they will be, I will say I am sorry, though I know that will never be enough, Garza said. He said his office will do what it can to ensure the convicted men move forward with their lives. In 2018, Missouri authorities said DNA evidence linked Brashers to the strangulation of a South Carolina woman in 1990 and the pew of a mother and daughter in Missouri in 1998. The evidence also connected him to the 1997 R of a 14-year-old girl in Tennessee. Brasher died in 1999 when he self-inflicted a wound during an hours-long standoff with police at a motel in Kennett, Missouri. Police noted similarities in many of the crimes, including that the victims were tied up with their own clothing, actually altered, and some crime scenes were set on fire. Other cases were being reviewed, authorities said, noting that Brashers was known to carry multiple weapons and act alone. At this point, there is no evidence that he had an accomplice in the yogurt shop Illings, Jackson said. Angie Ayers, sister-in-law to Amy Ayers, urged victims of other crimes not to give up. Don't take no when your gut is telling you to push, she said. Never let them put your case back in a box. That's good information, good advice. Don't let the law enforcement put your family's or your loved one's case in a box where it doesn't belong. Like Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, we don't ever want to see that case put in a box and forgotten about. That just does not seem like it would ever be right. Men wrongfully convicted in Austin yogurt shop red rums could get Texas payouts. Well, that would be nice. Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis speaks during a news conference at City Hall on Monday about the 1991 Austin yogurt shop red rums. Behind her, a screen shows a photo of Robert Eugene Brashers, a serial killer who police believe killed 4 teenage girls nearly 34 years ago. Jay Janner, Austin American-Statesman. An hour into the police interrogation that would dramatically alter the course of his life, Robert Springsteen repeatedly insisted he had nothing to do with the 1991 red rums of 4 teenage girls in North Austin yogurt shop, a case that remained the city's most notorious unsolved crime until last week. I was in there, Springsteen told the 3 Austin homicide detectives conducting the interrogation in 1999. I'm telling you, I wasn't in there. Oh, it says I wasn't in there the first time. I feel like I'm stuck in a corner because you guys have to go where you have to go. But with what legal and policing experts say is a prime example of coercive interrogation techniques common in the 1990s, the detectives pressed on. 3 hours later, with his soldiers slumped and head hung low as detectives shouted in his face, Springsteen confessed to the acts authorities now say he never committed. Springsteen's admissions were just one example of how Austin police extracted confessions from innocent men at the time when some detectives entered interrogations believing they already knew what happened and only needed to make the suspect say it. The coerced confession sparked a series of events that would derail the lives of Springsteen and Michael Scott, who were both wrongly convicted and imprisoned for the yogurt shop red rums. Prosecutors also charged Forrest Welburn and Maurice Pierce. All 4 men were in their mid-20s at the time. A Travis County grand jury declined to indict Welburn, and prosecutors dropped charges against Pierce after he sat in jail for 3 years. Springsteen landed on DR and Scott received a life sentence. Their convictions were dismissed in 2009 after new DNA evidence excluded them from the scene. Yet Springsteen and Scott's lives remain shadowed by those false confessions now more than 25 years later. The 2 men stand on the cusp of what has eluded them all this time, a judicial declaration of innocence. The public didn't see the horrific torment Michael went through all of these years, said Tony Diaz, Scott's longtime civil attorney. The girls were victims, and Michael grieves for them and their families, but Michael and his family have been victims too. Austin detectives on Monday publicly identified Robert Eugene Brasher as the sole suspect responsible for the 1991 killings of Amy Ayers' the 4 girls. Legal experts told the American Statesman that finding could be key to securing justice for Springsteen and Scott. We have a district attorney that is inclined to do the right thing, and I believe a judge will agree, said Charlie Baird, a respected former district court judge who represented Springsteen in a previous innocence claim. These men were wrongly accused, and we want to do everything we can to make them whole. Are Springsteen's and Scott's confessions tied to a broader history of police misconduct? I do believe so. With time, Austin police detectives of the late 1980s and early 1990s have developed an infamous reputation for coercing false confessions. Detectives from that era obtained I'm sorry, obtained dozens of false confessions that led to numerous wrong convictions, including those of Richard Danziger and Christopher Oshawa, the two young men who were convicted in the 1988 R and Red Rum of a co-worker, but their innocence was later proven when a convicted Red Rummer confessed and led police to the evidence of his guilt. By the time Danziger was freed, however, he had suffered brain damage from a prison attack. Hostile interrogation methods common during this time, including physical intimidation, threats of violence, promises of leniency, and marathon sessions of irregular hours, have since drawn scrutiny, said Stephen Drennes, an emeritus law professor at Northwestern University, who has studied wrongful convictions. In Austin in the early 90s, these tactics produced a Red Rum confession from a college student whose girlfriend had left town. Drizzen likened the interrogations to psychological torture. But despite efforts to reform, academics who have studied false convictions in Austin say that it's likely that culture persisted through the 1990s and after it. In Scott's appeal, his defense pointed to several instances in which detectives fed him details later repeated in his confession and pushed for him to recover blocked memories, both unsound interrogation tactics, Drizzen said. Richard Leo, a law professor at the University of San Francisco, studied wrongful confessions. I was trying to determine if that was my next door neighbor about to fire up her Camaro or if that was thunder. I think it was thunder because it's raining. Okay. They believe it was especially unlikely to get false confessions in very serious cases. Homicide cases and capital cases, for example, Leo said. Amber Farley, a criminal defense attorney who has worked to clear Springsteen's name since he was a University of Texas law student in 2007, said her first task was reviewing the confessions. They are awful, Farley said. Detectives threatening the boys, feeding information to them throughout. It is just got to the point where the boys were willing to say anything for it to stop. Keith Hampton, a longtime Austin defense attorney who represented yogurt shop suspect Pierce in 1991 and who has worked on Austin area exonerations, said He remembers the culture of Austin courtrooms and the police department of the 1990s and early 2000s. It takes a long time to change a culture and to change an attitude, Hampton said, until DNA proved many confessions false years later. It was a joke that somebody was innocent. In a statement, Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis said that policing has undergone a remarkable transformation since the 1990s when detectives around the nation deployed dubious investigative techniques. She pointed to advances in DNA technology, ballistics analysts, and genealogical testing, which was instrumental in solving the yogurt shop red runs. As critical as the ways the police department has improved its criminal investigations, my goal is to move the department away from past techniques used and toward evidence-based interviewing, Davis said, which focuses on professionalism, empathy, and accuracy over confession-driven tactics and ensures that investigative integrity remains center-focused, the winding path to innocence. Richard Danziger Center receives hugs from his brother, Manfred Danziger Jr., right after his sister Elizabeth Oakley left after Judge Bob Perkins' background to the left released him from prison for a red rum he did not commit. Judge Perkins apologized to Danziger for the mistreatment of his innocence and released him to his sister Elizabeth. The family is leaving for home this afternoon, March 28, 2001. Ralph Barra, Austin American-Statesman. In 2009, Travis County's then District Attorney Rosemary Limburg dismissed the indictments against Springsteen and Scott pending further investigation, leaving open the door for prosecutors to revive the charges at any time. The possibility of new charges prevented Springsteen from receiving compensation for wrongful imprisonment despite 2 attempts in 2012, court records show. He suffered another defeat in 2017 when the Court of Criminal Appeals, the state's highest criminal court, denied Springsteen's pleas for a declaration of actual innocence, ruling that his conviction had already been overturned. That same year, then District Attorney Margaret Moore blocked a separate attempt by Springsteen to win an innocence claim after Springsteen petitioned a Bexar County District Court to grant him actual innocence. Moore's office intervened by asking the court to change the petition's venue to Travis County. Moore then defeated Springsteen's position, successfully arguing that without a conviction, he could not qualify. Court records show. But now, Baird said the situation is totally different, with police identifying a lone suspect through DNA testing and Travis County current District Attorney Jose Garza signaling support protests for Springsteen and Scott's innocence have never been stronger. If the conclusions of the APD investigation are confirmed as it appears that they will be, I will say I am sorry, though I know that will never be enough, Garza said during Monday's news conference. We will take any necessary steps to ensure that they can move forward with their lives. Garza gave no no timeline for that process, and the district attorney's office did not respond to questions from the American Statesman. Will Springsteen and Scott be able to access restitution? I believe they should. Texas law provides for restitution, compensation given to those who were wrongfully convicted and served time, but to qualify, a court must find actual innocence. I'm sorry, that happens every time I sit down at my computer. That standard requires more than an overturned conviction. Innocence must be formally declared through a judge's order, habeas relief, or a governor's pardon. Attorney John Riley, who has worked on Texas exonerations, said that the most likely outcome for Springsteen and Scott would be for prosecutors and a judge to amend the original judgment, dismissing the case again, but this time with finding of innocence. The cooperation of the district attorney is crucial in this process, Riley told the Statesman. Baird said he expected that Springsteen's defense team will petition a state district judge in Travis County to amend their prior judgment. The same option is available to Scott. If they're declared innocent, both could receive up to $80,000 for each year they were wrongfully imprisoned, along with a lifetime annuity under state law. The Innocence Project of Texas Director Mike Ware noted only one prior Texas case, Alfred Dwayne Brown's, has achieved such retroactive innocence amendment that suggested Springsteen's and Scott's face an uncertain road of restitution. Exonerated individuals could also seek federal civil rights damage if they identify a public employee or agency responsible for the wrongful conviction, he said. Although Pierce died in 2010 after a confrontation with an Austin police officer, Ware said his family could file a civil lawsuit based on the time he spent in jail and damage to their reputations and livelihood. Ware said Wellborn may be able to make the same claims, though it's unclear how strong of a case either has. Attorneys representing Scott and Springsteen said the civil lawsuit route would be fraught with risks. The suits can be difficult for plaintiffs to win, and they can drag on for years. Springsteen and Scott, the attorney said, may be ready to close the book on the saga that has haunted the entirety of their adult lives. Diaz, Scott's civil attorney, said his client hasn't made a decision on whether to seek restitution from the state or file a civil lawsuit against the Austin Police Department or the individuals involved in his arrest and interrogation. But Diaz noted if that happens, it could reveal for the public even more wrongdoing conducted by police investigators at the time. A lawsuit could reveal a great deal of embarrassment for the authorities at the time who had that happen, he said. Farley, one of Springsteen's criminal defense attorneys, said her client has not made a decision on how to proceed. They are waiting the final results of the Austin Police Department's investigation. We've been waiting 32 years for this moment, Farley said. We're still in limbo, but Springsteen has got to have his name clear. It is our duty to him. And then it shows other related readings. Okay, I only have 3 more of these to go, and hopefully they're not all readers. Okay. Well, okay, yeah, 3. This says Austin Mayor Police Chief holds press conference about yogurt shop Red Rum's breakthrough. This is pictures of the 4 girls. I can't raise it any bigger. Austin, KXAN, Austin Mayor Kirk Watson and Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis held a press conference Monday morning at Austin City Hall to present how cold case investigators believe they solved one of the city's most infamous cold cases, the 1991 yogurt shop Red Rums. Background to the case. On December 6, 1991, Austin firefighters responded to a fire at the I Can't Believe It's yogurt shop off Anderson Lane in North Austin. What started as a structure fire call evolved to a quadruple homicide case after first responders found bodies in the building. Who were the victims in the yogurt shop Red Rums? The victims were identified as Amy Ayers, 13, Eliza Thomas, 17, Jennifer Harbison, 17, and Harbison's younger sister, Sarah, 15. She's a very pretty young lady. Over the years, 4 men were accused of the Red Rums. Some were convicted and sentenced to life in prison by the late 2000s. All 4 were exonerated and released from custody. Police announced September 26 that they linked a suspect, Robert Eugene Brashers, to the 1991 quadruple Red Rum. After analyzing DNA and ballistic evidence, Brashers passed away by self-infliction in 1999. Who attended Monday's press conference? Along with Watson and Davis, the girls' relatives attended the press conference. We are incredibly grateful for the Austin Police Department and the outpouring of support from the community, the Harbison family told KXAN on Sunday. It made me cry a little bit. Austinites pay respects at Memorial Remember Yogurt Shop Red Rums. APD Cold Case Detective Daniel Jackson, APD Forensic Science Director Dr. Dana Kadabi, Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza, and Mindy Montford from the Texas Attorney General's Office also attended the news conference. We live with it. Former Travis County DA reflects on team dedicated to solving yogurt shop Red Rums. Mayor Watson, this day has been a long time coming. The press conference is ongoing. We'll update the section as it proceeds. The full press conference will be available in the story following its conclusion. Watson began the press conference with a moment of silence for the victims. He also served as Austin's mayor at the time of the Red Rums. This day has been a long time coming, he said. Nearly a quarter of a century ago, I said this city lost its innocence. Now we have some closure. Watson said that it was advances in technology and forensic science, as well as the dedication of APD, that led to the breakthrough. Davis spoke next and called it one of the most devastating cases in the city's history. Only the physical evidence at the scene has been connected to him, she said, referring to Brashers. While this is a major step, there are still major questions remaining. DA Garza said that the initial arrests and convictions were the result of coerced confessions obtained by detectives after lengthy interviews. All four of the wrongfully accused were teenagers when the red rums occurred. The Travis County DA's office only learned about the results a week ago, and the families more recently than that, Garza said. Garza said that once the final APD report is sent to his office, it will work to finalize the case. He also promised to apologize on behalf of the Travis County DA's office for its part in the wrongful convictions, one of which sent a man to DR. The overwhelming evidence points to the guilt of one man and the innocence of four, Garza said. If the conclusions of that investigation are confirmed, the Travis County DA's office will take responsibility. So much time has passed, but it is never late for justice, and the families deserve justice. Montfort, who has been on the case for several years, asked the public to come forward with any information about Brasher's or cases possibly linked to him. I promised I would never give up on this case, she said. APD investigator, a perfect match to our DNA profile. Jackson, the case's lead investigator, laid out a timeline of case. He had been on the case since 2022. He said at the press conference, he took a moment to thank all of the law enforcement agencies that assisted in the multi-state investigation. Timeline of the yogurt shop red rums investigation. Here's a diagram. Sarah and Eliza were here, and Amy was over here. There was a floor safe right here, and the doors to the office was locked. And this was the walk-in cooler. There was a table outside and a sink here. This was counter with yogurt machines. This was the entrance to the back room, and the restrooms were back here. They had 7 tables in the middle with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 booths. And here was the counter with the cash register. And then this was the front doors. And this was the back door into the alley. So that's showing what the place looked like at the time that it happened, prior to it being caught on fire. Jackson explained that the Iller entered the yogurt shop around closing time. All 4 victims were banged in the head with a .22 caliber handgun, but Amy was also shot by a .380 round. Investigators found a spent .380 casing in a floor drain and gathered DNA from the victims, Jackson said. The building was then set on fire. Modus operandi. Perpetrator entered or remained near closing time when no other customers were present. Girls were found nude and tied up with their own clothing as ligatures and bindings. Evidence of SA. All 4 victims were banged in the head, execution style, with a .22. Amy was also shot with a .380. Building was set on fire. Less than 48 hours after the red rums, he was stopped by Border Patrol agent near El Paso, Jackson said. We don't know why he was in Austin. The agents ran his plates and found that the car driven by Brasher's was reported stolen from Marietta, Georgia. They also seized a .380 pistol from him during the stop. However, Brasher's fled from the agents. The Pew Pew was later released to Brasher's father. On January 13, 1999, Brasher's unalived himself in Missouri with the same handgun. The gun went missing over the years and has not been recovered by law enforcement. Jackson said later, however, he explained that it was confirmed as the same weapon by the serial number in police reports. After Brasher's passed away, he was linked to several other red rums across the U.S. during the 1990s, Jackson explained. Jackson also spoke about the initial arrests in the court's cases, and how DNA evidence cleared those initial suspects. He added later in the conference that he never read or listened to the coerced confessions as part of his investigation. When he took over the case, Jackson said he reviewed all the available evidence. He learned that the 380 casing wasn't entered into a certain national database. Sometime after it was added, it was matched to a similar casing found by investigators in a 1998 Kentucky cold case. Jackson declined to name the Kentucky city where the cold case occurred, as it hasn't yet been issued a press release for its case. The DNA evidence was linked to samples held by the South Carolina State Lab, which was gathered from Greenville, South Carolina. He is a perfect match to our DNA profile, Jackson said. He had a Y chromosome profile that only 1% of the population has. In response to a question later in the conference, he said that Brasher's did not have an accomplice. This is something that could not have happened until 2025. I'm sorry that it took so long, Jackson included. Families from APD speak about the girls. Barbara Wilson, the mother of Jennifer and Sarah, was the first of the family members to speak. She said that vengeance was never her desire. Sonora Thomas, sister of Eliza, spoke next. She was accompanied by her father, James Thomas. Our reality doesn't change after today. Our families are still too small. We have been robbed of a life with nieces and grandchildren and sisters, Sonora Thomas said. Sean Ayers, Amy's older brother, spoke next. He was accompanied at the press conference by his wife, Angie Ayers. At one point, I gave up on God, but he never gave up on me, Sean Ayers said. He spoke with the displeasure about whoever leaked information about the breakthrough to media on Friday, which he said happened moments after they received the news in person. He added that the leak caused the families to be bombarded with calls from reporters, and that some of those families had not yet been told by APD. That led to the city moving up its timeline for the press conference, which forced families to be rushed to attend Monday's press conference, Sean Ayers said. Angie Ayers was later on that this moment is one that the families have been at before, where they feel that justice has been served only to be taken away from them. She said she's still waiting for everything to be fully concluded. During his closing remarks, Watson said he appreciated the family's grace over the years. He also thanked the investigative team and asked them to stand for recognition. I hope we can turn a final page on a dark chapter in Austin's history, Watson said. The yogurt shop murders will always be a part of Austin's history. Copyright 2025, Next Star Media, Incorporated. All rights reserved. This material may not be published, broadcast, rewritten, or redistributed. I'm sorry. I didn't read that till after I'd already read it out loud. So, okay, so the next one we've got talks about the DNA testing. Austin police examined how DNA analysis solved 1991 yogurt shop red rums. Austin police solved the 1991 yogurt shop red rums using advanced DNA technology, identifying Robert Eugene Brashers as the suspect. Here's the four beautiful ladies. This is Jennifer and Sarah Harbison. This is Amy Ayers, and this is Eliza Thomas. And this is where the yogurt, I can't believe it's yogurt shop was. And let's listen in here.
For the amount of time it took.
Austin police say new advances in DNA technology ultimately helped solve the yogurt shop murders. Investigators collected every piece of evidence they could at the time, including DNA swabs, but the technology back then was very limited. And the recent breakthrough came from samples taken from under the fingernails of 13-year-old Amy Ayers, one of the four victims. Now detectives say that same technology could help solve countless other cold cases. KVU's Isabella Basco takes a closer look at how it works and what it could mean for future investigations.
Okay, so now they're going to switch over to where the yogurt shop's at. And I believe this is after it had caught fire.
For Detective Daniel Jackson, the lead detective on the yogurt shop murder since 2022, he's sorry for the amount of time it took to solve the case. The brutal killings took the lives of Jennifer and Sarah Harbison, Eliza Thomas, and Amy Ayers. But
we're here now, and Amy's final moments on this earth were to solve this case for us. It's because of her fighting back.
Jackson credits advancements with a process called YSTR testing, which looks at genetic information on only the male chromosome. Samples taken from under Ayers' fingernails during her autopsy were retested and produced a YSTR profile linked to a male in 2004. It wasn't until August of this year that more testing found a match to Robert Brashers from a 1990 murder in South Carolina.
It matched so that it's 2.5 million to 1 that it's likely Robert Brashers underneath Amy's fingernails than it is to an unknown individual.
Dr. Robert Fury, the chair of forensic science at St. Edward's University, says advances in DNA testing are mind-blowing. Still, he says the bigger issue is properly addressing these kinds of cases involving sexual assault.
You have boxes and boxes of rape kits that are just sitting there, and there's not enough money to go in and do this kind of work with all of those kits. And I think there needs to be a concerted effort to do that.
For Angie Ayers, who is the wife of Amy's brother, Sean Ayers, she now makes a plea to law enforcement to use the technology to solve more cases.
This system has got to change. We have got to do better for the victims. To my sister-in-law, Amy Ayers, I am so honored to have fought next to you. But you can rest easy now, sister. I've got it from here.
Jackson also says that the weapon used in the murder of Ayers was a .380 semi-automatic gun. In July 2025, a task force requested to retest a casing for this cartridge, and the investigation came back with a hit to an unsolved murder out of Kentucky. The casings at both crime scenes indicated the same gun was used. Live in studio, Isabella Basco for KVUE News.
Okay. At least you didn't have to sit and listen to me read that one out loud. Okay, now the last one we got says Ralph Wilson Park opening to include the, wait, Well, this has nothing to do with our case. I don't know. It must have changed over from what I had wanted it to be, because this is talking about a theme park or something that's going to be opening. It has nothing to do with our story. So that was all we have on this case. So it looks like they're still doing some testing on the DNA, but the shell casing and the ballistics experts ran tests on the shell casing, on the 380 shell casing, and that linked to another case that Brasher's was in Kentucky. And then the DNA under Amy's fingernails from where she fought back, that DNA also went to Brasher's. So when they put two and two together, it all came together, and they finally have this case so close to being solved that they can say it's solved. And that is a relief for the family. And like it said, I hope that the gentlemen that were wrongfully accused and wrongfully sentenced will be reinstated with, being compensated for all that they've lost. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for being here. Do something nice for someone, even if it's just be the reason that they smile today, and search for crime. I will see you tomorrow.